If you want freedom, then look into the barrel of a gun. It's only there where you find your freedom. And that space between survival and death. But once we compromise, once we accept these hollow luxuries and these trappings as reality, we become slaves. So many of our fellow Americans are slaves. So many of our brothers and sisters have bowed to the god of money. Give me a useful degree and a job, they say, and I'll behave. Give me a nice home and a nice car, they say, because that's what a winner wants. I want to start doing yoga again, and maybe get a new blender for my smoothies. What's all this talk about going to war with the government anyway? Because Bernie Sanders is about to give us everything we want for free. I've had enough of that. I was not made for a life of compromise, and neither were you. My soul was not built for suburban mediocrity, and neither was yours. I am a war machine engineered for higher worlds, and I would make each and every one of you a weapon. You want freedom? Then look into the face of terror. Only then will you know what you are. Only then will you know whether you are hero or pig. When you face your greatest fear, what will you find inside of yourself? A longing for safety and comfort, or the will to conquer? Listen, you cannot drink your own water in this city because it's so filthy. Coca-Cola takes your Jacksonville water, filters it, and sells it back to you. Think about that for a minute. The corporations pollute your water until you cannot drink it anymore. And then they take it, and they filter it, and they sell it back to you. We've been told that this is freedom of enterprise, that this is entrepreneurship, but let's call it what it is, the corporate ownership of America. If you want freedom, then prepare for war. The government must fear you before it will take your demands for rights seriously. What shepherd allows his sheep a seat at the table? And how could our government pass the laws it does, tax us like it does, police us like it does, unless it was so certain that we were harmless? Listen, 10,000 Syrians are on their way here because they are too cowardly to fight their own government. Now we can condemn them as leeches, as freeloaders, as cowards, and yet look at us. If you drive down that street out there not wearing a seatbelt, the cops can pull you over. If your window tint is too dark, the cops will pull you over. And if you look like this guy right here, you're getting searched too. You can't send an email in this country without the government reading it. You cannot buy a drug that was not first approved by the government for your consumption. You cannot tell the truth in this country without the government sending its agents to interrogate your friends. The government, the corporations, the special interests, they control every aspect of your lives, and you allow it. So can we really blame the Syrians for running from war and flooding our shores when we ourselves tolerate the enslavement of our wives and children? Let me ask you something, Ryan. What is a slave? Somebody forced to work for nothing. My man in the snazzy dress, what is a slave to you, sir? Somebody who has a master. A slave is one who has no will of his own, but does the will of the master. And that is exactly what is at stake in this war for the soul of America. This war will determine whether the American people are free men and women or whether they are slaves. Are we our own masters, or are we slaves to the government? And to answer that, we must determine who is responsible for our environment, our common land and our soil, our waters, our schools, and our communities. Sam, if you walk down to the water right now and you saw a ship dumping waste into the bay, whose responsibility is it to stop it? That is the magic answer, my man. Yours. Now, initially, it is the captain of the ship. It's the man polluting the water himself. Because if a man can be a law unto himself, then the laws of others become irrelevant. But in order to be trusted as a free man, you must first have virtue. And if this man had virtue, a sense of responsibility, a sense of harmony with his environment, a sense of duty to his fellow man, he would not be polluting the water to begin with. And if this man fails to live up to his responsibility, then the responsibility becomes your own. The government is only tasked with cleaning up the messes of others because we do not want to accept the task ourselves. This is the meaning of virtue, that we take upon ourselves the responsibility for our own lives and the world around us. And this is why I'm speaking with you today. If there is one thing I want you to take away from this encounter, one thing I want you to remember, it is this. Freedom comes from within. It is not given to you by the government. A free man declares himself free. He does not wait for another to allow his freedom. A free woman acts as a free woman. She does not wait to be granted license to act as she wills. Brothers and sisters, do not wait for the government to grant you your freedom and your rights and your licenses, or you will die waiting. Though you were born free, you will die as slaves. But rights cannot exist without concomitant responsibilities. If I have the right to bear arms, I also have the responsibility to learn how to use my weapon. If I have the right to free speech, I also have the responsibility to use it for the benefit of humankind. If I have the right to determine my own destiny, I also have the responsibility not to squander my potential. We Americans tend to emphasize rights, privileges, benefits. Rarely do we ever speak of responsibilities, of the duties and obligations that come along with them. Now at this point we can all be cynical and we can say, well, that all sounds nice and noble and all that, but politics hasn't changed and it never will. So then what are you doing here? Money controls the system and it always will. So just go on home. There's nothing you can do about it. Republican or Democrat, Christian or atheist, you all face the same truth. Money owns the law, and that's the way things are. Corruption is the way of the world, and so shall it always be. Human society is the way it is, and there is nothing you can do to stop that. The United States of America, it answers to the corporations, the special interests, the dynastic families, not to you. The lobbyists write our laws. The media controls who gets elected. Big business owns our politician, and that's just the way it's going to be. I mean, look at you. Your parents aren't rich. You didn't go to Harvard Law. You aren't even male. How could you ever hope to accomplish anything? If this is your mindset, then what I have to say will always be foreign to your ears. Should I make the lame to walk and the blind to see? I still could not turn the heart of a cynic into that of a free man. But those of you prepared in heart by trials and tribulations, you who would sacrifice your very lives to keep from these invisible chains, it is to you that I speak. Brothers and sisters, I tell you of a world that does not yet exist. A world that glorifies the spirit over money. A world in which we control the destiny of our nation. Not McDonald's, not Walmart, and not the Israel lobby. If you see a ship dumping pollutants into the water, it is your duty to stop it, not the government's. Waiting for the EPA to fine an oil company is going to accomplish exactly what it has accomplished to this point. Nothing. If you see a man being beaten in the street, it is your duty to stop it, not the government's. Waiting for the police to arrive so you can give a description of the attackers is an act of gross cowardice, and it is unbecoming of free men and women. If you see injustice in the world around you, it is your duty to stop it, not the government's. This notion that the government is the only entity that can protect us and our families and our communities and our environment, this notion that the individual, that you have no right to protect your own or to determine the fate of your country or to act without permission, this is the notion that has brought our country to the brink of disaster. Brothers and sisters, you and many like you fear the coming of a new dark age. But verily I say unto you, we are living in the dark ages. What is more important to our fellow Americans? Money or honor? Convenience or duty? The spirit or the material? I ask these things rhetorically because we all know the answer. The real question is, what is important to you? Each and every one of you here, I want you to meditate on this. Are you the reason that we are living in the dark ages? What do you value most? This is a question I cannot answer for you. Neither can your boyfriend, or your boss, or your sister, or your priest. Each of you must search your hearts and determine whether you have given your all to this life, or whether you have allowed the trappings of life to distract you from what really matters. As I said, if you want freedom, then look into the barrel of a gun. If you were to die right now, what is the one thing you wish you had done? And why have you not done it yet? That is the freedom I am fighting for. I do not give a shit about your freedom to choose between Taco Bell and Chick-fil-A. I don't care about whether AT&T or TWC provides your internet service. And I think we all know what a joke it is to think we are free because we can choose between Republican and Democrat. True freedom is being in control of your own life and being able to put in order the world around you. If you want freedom, then look into the face of terror. Face your fears. I urge you not to choose the comfortable, the familiar life, knowing that there's a Walmart, a Starbucks, and a Pizza Hut down the street that might make us feel more secure. It is the familiar world in which we are safe. But does your ability to shop there make you free? Face the unknown. There you will find your freedom. Though I am running for United States Senate, I do not want you to vote so much as I want you to wake up. Though I am a libertarian, I do not want a party so much as I want a movement. And though I am traveling the state making speeches, I do not want consumers of my message. so much as I want brothers in arms. As I said, if you want freedom, then prepare for war. Now, I've been asked what comes after the war. And many want to know what is the cause that we are fighting for. It is precisely this: a world in which we value virtue over money. A world in which our children may swim in clean waters. A world in which our sisters can walk through the streets at night without fear. In which we do not have to live in constant apprehension as to whether or not our financial system will collapse. In which we do not have to wonder whether the cop in the street is going to beat the shit out of us or open fire. A world in which the government is run by the people and for the people, not by the corporations and for the corporations. A world in which special interests do not determine which countries we bomb. But most important of all, we are fighting for the spirit, for the dignity of the individual, for the right and the duty of each of us to determine his or her own fate. Brothers and sisters, prepare yourselves for the future. Be strong, fear not, and may the blessings of the goddess be upon you.